Hello, scale modelers. Alrighty, so today we have another issue for the Build Your Own X-Wing, which got the magazine right here. Got issue 55, and we're going to be starting to put together the fourth and final sublight engine. So there we go. Okay, so we got article in here: Starfighter Aces Jack Tono Porkins creating a starship fleet, filming the new TIE Fighter. Alright, so I was hoping to have a DeLorean strut or DeLorean shock update video put up this week. I don't know if I'll actually be able to get one up this week because my Dremel actually bit the dust. So I have to get a new one. So, that's going to be delayed just by a little while. Now, hopefully, I can get one this week and get some work done on that so that way I can try uploading one for next week. So, it is what it is. I've used that Dremel for 3-4 years for just about anything and everything you can think about. I mean, you can use it for more than just hobby work. I mean, me, most of the time, I use that Dremel for some car work, because that Dremel can fit into some tight places that, you know, regular, like grinding tools and whatever can't get to. So, it does come in quite handy. But yeah, those frictions, they normally you can replace. They seized in place. They seized the motor in place. So I mean, I know some people, if they do comment after watching that part, it was like, well, why didn't you replace them? For one, normally I use it at such a low RPM. Those frictions never get down really far enough to really replace. I've been using the same frictions in there for like the last 3 or 4 years now. So, kind of unheard of. But, I mean, seeing as those pieces are, you know, are seized in place, I tried getting them out. I couldn't. And, you know, these kits now, they don't even come with replacements anymore. The older Dremels that you could get, you know, like 10 years ago, they had a replacement set in the kit, at least. And nowadays, you have to buy them separately, and the last time I went to go get Dremel stuff, I didn't even see them on the shelf anymore. So, it's almost like you got to purchase. You can only purchase them online or whatever now. I don't really know. But, yeah. So, it is what it is, but alright, so let's get back to issue 55 here. Alright, so, upper port engine. This issue's main component is the upper half of the fuselage thrust engine casing that will fit onto the rear of the last of the X-Wing's 4 engines. You also have parts to make half of the fission chamber that goes inside the casing and to fit the external details. Alright, and then we got our bag of parts right here. And one thing that I am so going to be looking forward to when that time comes is getting the final dreaded engine piping done. So that way I don't have to worry about working with those pieces anymore. I mean, luckily enough, for the third one, everything went in place perfectly and utterly fine, and I didn't have to worry about it, not like with the first set, or even partially the second set. So, yeah, it almost seems like if the first set was their, from their, promo, their pre, what do I want to call it? Their, yeah, I guess I'll say the promo. When they're doing like the 4 or 5 parts or whatever, you know, like their initial run on there, and then, you know, they figured out through you know, people possibly building it, like maybe their own modelers, that they needed a little bit of tweak, but they probably had run so many of those original pipes off that, yeah, I mean, instead of like tossing the parts and using the new molded pieces for those particular issues right there, they're like, yeah, well, let's get our money's worth out of it. So, I mean, that could be one reason right there why the first engine piping just didn't fit. It would just ping off. I mean, that's what happens. I mean, a lot of times you just need, you know, like your people who work for the company that are actually building this stuff for you, and, you know, like certain, you know, like consumers, to actually give them the feedback saying, oh yeah, you know, it's like the clearances on these certain parts are just a little bit bigger than what they should be to fit in the way they need to be. So yeah, I'm happy that got fixed. At least we'll see. We will definitely see, because for all we know, it could be the same way with engine number 4 that it was with engine number 1. But we will see. Alright. So, we got all of our parts in here. All the pipe work. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna take the top of that clamshell off right now. Just set that off to the side. And apparently I have to plug my camera in. Now, most of the time I can get away with not plugging the camera in to charge it up for, you know, a good 4 or 5 videos. But it's such a small camera that recording, you know, 4 or 5, 10 to 15 minute videos straight like this, it sucks quite a bit of power out of it. Like I said, it's a small camera, or camcorder, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so assembling the engine. All the parts provided are held together by push-fitting the pins into their sockets. The images on page 12 will help to identify which piece of pipework goes where. Just follow the steps carefully to identify each part and see where it should be fitted. Alright, well, so most of this is just the guide. So, I mean, this is literally just 5 steps. So, we got 5 steps. And if you turn the page, 2 pages of just guides, compared to 1 page for just the steps on actually taking care of this. So 5 steps for the Fusible Thrust, the inner works of the first half of this sublight engine. And then you get 2 pages of guides. The first page is just literally, I mean, these might be their steps, you know, like A through I right there, like the actual steps on where to put them in. And then literally the other page is showing you what the pipes look like, and like this. I mean, literally they could have, you know, incorporated both of these pages in together. But, I mean, it is what it is. Alright. So, I mean, the first step with these is you take the fission chamber mounting and you put it into those 2 holes right there on the fission chamber. And that's that. And then you take the engine casing and you take this half of the fission chamber, you pop it over those 2 posts right there, and then you just push it in place. And that incorporates all 5 steps. Alright, so now as far as the pipe work goes, lucky for me, I don't even need to look at those instructions. So, alright, so we'll get a couple of pipes out here. Alright, so we got this piece right here, which they label as A, which I'm not going to be putting these on in the their guide or their instructions, but I always like to do these 2 pieces first. Alright, and then you got this piece labeled as B, which goes into these 4 posts right there. Alright, and then whatever piece I happen to pick up next will be the piece that I put in. So, alright, and then you got this piece right here, which that is going to go into those holes right there, those 3 holes. Just like that. Alright. And then we got this piece right in here, which this piece is going to go in that hole, and that hole right there. Alright, well, all I can say is for this piece, because it's already curved, and you gotta, don't be afraid to flex it just a tiny little bit. If you flex it too much, it's just gonna break. And this piece is labeled off as G. This one is E. And this one is F. F goes into these 2 smaller holes up top. Just like that. And nope, good old finger oil ain't gonna get that out. Alright. Alright, now this one has the has the 4 posts on it. And that is labeled as D, which if you just take it and you put it up over the holes, you can see right there that this is the spot where it goes. Because it can only go in the one way. And we just push it down in there. Yeah, I like these tweezers. These come in handy for metal car work. When you're going to glue them, you can just put it on there. The piece holds itself. Come in very, very handy. Alright, and this piece of pipework is labeled as C. This one's going in right here. See, most of these parts you can actually tell where they go just by the distance between the posts and then compare them to the holes that are actually on here. Alright, and this piece they label as I, and that goes right here. And sometimes these 2 small holes in the back, these go in the toughest. And I'm only saying that they go in the toughest is because it has the tighter fit. So just be careful of that one in particular. Because I bet you some people have actually broken that. And the last piece of pipework is the little horseshoe piece, which is labeled as H, and that goes just right into the last 2 pieces of, or not last 2 pieces, last 2 holes that you can see on here. Alright. Okay. And that is the 4th and final first half of the 4th sublight. Right there. And that's all we're doing in this issue. Alright, so that has another little bit to read off here in the back of the magazine. Alright, so Fusible Thrust Engine. The 4L4 Fusible Thrust Engine was developed by the Incom Corporation for use on their T-65B X-Wing starfighters. Incom's earlier craft had used a variety of different technologies. For example, the Z-95 Headhunter starfighter was equipped with the 4-2A fission engines, in which any Star Wars fan knows is there is a huge difference between the engines you see on the Headhunters compared to the X-Wings. And even, you know, going through with the whole, reading the whole expanded Star Wars universe, you could tell there are some people who prefer the Headhunter over the X-Wing, but a lot of the actual pilots of the X-Wings, when you're doing out in space battles, actually prefer the X-Wing over the Headhunter because apparently it had more aerial maneuverability when you're in starfight battles. So, you know, it's just like with, like, anything else that's out there, you know. You could get, like, an everyday pilot who prefers, you know, like, this type of, you know, aircraft over another type of aircraft, and it is what it is. Or, you know, like, people who say, well, I prefer this kind of car over this kind of car, and it happens all the time. Alright. So, coming in issue 56, which that'll be the last issue for month 14 for the X-Wing build. And hopefully by next week I'll actually get a notification about month 15 being shipped out, which I do hope it does. Alright, so new TIE Fighters, Rogue One concept work, Ezra Bridger, a force to reckon with, and then upper port engine plus turbo impeller parts. Alright, so that'll be issue 56. We start working on the second half of this, which I do have the parts. I'm not going to put them out in front of the camera, but it is just like when we were building the first wing, the first engine. It's literally just the impeller parts and the other half of the fusion fusion chamber there. So I have to wait until probably issue 57 before we get the other casing half. So it's literally just the internals and just the other half of this fission chamber, so it does not include the other half of the engine casing or sublight engine casing here. Alright, so until next week, issue 56, and hopefully I can get another update for the DeLorean mods that I'm doing. So until then, thanks for watching Brian's Builds.